Welcome to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. I'm JJ Flazanes, your host. Today's show is going to be about manifesting wealth and success, and you're going to really love Justin's story. It's amazing. It's basically a rags to riches kind of story, and I hope that if nothing else, it gives you hope as well as direction. He took me through a very specific process actually on the show that reminded me and brought me back into a place of something I had experienced, and I found it to be really powerful. So when we get to that place, if you're not driving, and please don't do this if you're driving, or if you're driving, pull over for a second and do the exercise with us, because it was pretty amazing. And I encourage you to check out Justin's stuff, as well as to sign up for the 30-day manifestation challenge. It's coming up here soon, and once we start, you won't be let in. So you need to sign up before September 1st in order to join us on the 30-day manifestation challenge, and you'll hear more about that in the middle of the show. So without further ado, enjoy today's show. Today's show, manifesting wealth and success. I am very excited about today's show, and you will be too. We have with us Justin Varengia, better known as the Hippie Jedi. He's a revolutionary freedompreneur. Alongside his bombshell wife, Dee, he continues to innovate not only the way things are done with marketing and social media, but how our society lives. Justin comes from humble beginnings. In 2011, he and his wife Dee were teaching English overseas in China for $1,200 a month. Then in 2012, they were struggling to afford their 300 square foot studio apartment they were renting out in Costa Rica for $450 a month. Then something magical happened, which transformed his spirit and belief in creating worldwide change. Justin and Dee have a vision of freedom for all humanity, along with a higher purpose to help you unplug from the matrix. Together, they are inspiring freedompreneurs from all around the world to tap into their higher self and live their dreams. We are speaking the same language. Welcome to Freedom Fridays, Justin.
Happy to be here, JJ. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you for the time and for sharing your story, which we're about to do. And I know a little bit of your story. I've watched your videos. I saw your ads. I've been on your show. And like I said on your show, I remember seeing your Facebook ad about the law of attraction years ago. And I liked it and I shared it. And since listening to your podcast show, Weird Entrepreneurs, I definitely am so re-inspired to have you share with my audience. While we don't necessarily focus a lot on money, we've talked about it a few times, we talk about the law of attraction. And I know that's a big piece for you. So why don't you get us started from where you were? Start at the beginning a little bit about what life was like before the transformation and what led you to that.
Yeah, totally. I dropped out of college. I went for like 1 month, and then I'm like, I wanted to do traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, because I was into Kung Fu and energy work and stuff. And my Kung Fu teacher, we call him Sifu, he would always say, in order to be, a master at Kung Fu, you have to also know how to heal people, like, understand traditional Chinese medicine ultimately. So I'm like, that sounds like a great subject. But I soon realized I didn't want to, I didn't really have the money. I had the money for the community college because it was like almost all paid for. I had to buy books for a few $100s here and there. But it was like after that, I had to go to the main headquarters in Tampa where they teach this stuff. And it was like very expensive. I wasn't like making much of any money. Like back then I had a regular job. I was actually working at Publix, a local grocery store. And I started as like bagging groceries, my first job after McDonald's, which I tried to get a job originally bagging groceries at Publix, but because I had no experience, they wouldn't hire me. So I had to have my first job when I was actually 16 at McDonald's flipping burgers. And this was at the time I became a vegetarian. I became a vegetarian at the age of 16. So here I am flipping burgers as a vegetarian working at McDonald's, but I was humble and I just wanted to get a start. You know what I mean? So I eventually got a job at Publix after I showed I had some job experience, and I didn't quit McDonald's until I got the job at like the newer place. And then I quit, the McDonald's job. So I'm just like a regular person. I didn't come from like a wealthy family or anything like this, but something abnormal and really weird about me is I always had this like dream of helping awaken people, because I became awakened. But let me just fast forward through the journey. So after that, I decided to become an entrepreneur and get started in real estate, because that was at the time where everyone was getting rich in real estate. And my uncle owned a real estate appraisal company, and he showed me the ropes. I became a trainee appraiser for 2 years. And then after 2 years experience, I took my state certification exam in Florida, and I passed. I became a certified appraiser, and I made a lot of money my first year in business opening up just-in-time appraisals back in the day. But it wasn't because I was smart. I didn't have much business experience, but I was at the right place at the right time, and it was almost impossible not to make money in that industry. I started pitching myself to like loan officers. I'd go into like mortgage brokerage firms, and I'd introduce myself and my services, and I'm willing to do a turnaround in X amount of time if you give me your business, or blah blah blah. And I started attracting clients. Long story short, I ended up 500 grand in debt because I started buying up property when I started to create some wealth. And I thought things would be great forever. I didn't understand the cycles of the real estate market. And so I lost everything and ended up 500K in debt. That's when I detached from society, around the time I watched the movie The Matrix, and saw the movie The Secret for my first time, which transformed everything in my life, because that was a pivotal time in my life where it was like I can go back and get a job and be a regular person in debt for the rest of my life, unfulfilled, or I can really go after my dream. Also around the time I read The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, and I was just very inspired. So I ended up moving to Costa Rica with my wife, selling everything we owned, and I just didn't pay the debt. I just left the country, and I lived in Costa Rica for several years. And this is when I became an entrepreneur on the internet. I transitioned. I got out of the real estate market. I said, I want to learn how to be able to create freedom. And freedom for me was having the time freedom to be anywhere in the world and still build the business. The real estate business was cool that I made money, but it sucked because I was a slave to the responsibility, meaning I had to actually show up at your house, inspect your property, take pictures, measure the home, get comparables in the community, go home, write a report. So it was kind of like tedious. There wasn't much leverage in it. The higher forms of leverage in like that industry is like having a bunch of trainee appraisers under you and just like overseeing their work and things like that, but just wasn't like my thing. So I'm like, if I can just build a business on the internet, I can travel the world, I can inspire and impact people, then I'm fulfilling my purpose, which is helping people awaken, using my influence. So long story short, it's like I'm condensing 32 years of my life, into this podcast, which I appreciate you for, JJ, by the way. So the law of attraction transformed my life. I started to think big, and I attracted the right mentor in my life. And this was back in 2012. In 2010, I moved to China. I lived there for 13 months. We taught English overseas for $1,200 a month salary. After 13 months, we saved up enough money to be able to move back to our dream location at the time, which was Costa Rica. That was the time of living in that 300 square foot studio apartment in Guanacaste, Cocoa Beach, Costa Rica. Beautiful community, tiny place because that's all we could afford at the time. Met the right mentor. This is in June of 2012. I attended my first event, getting around very successful people, which is something I typically would never do because I grew up extremely introverted. I don't know if any of the listeners can resonate with that, but I was just like very sheltered into myself. But I was also studying personal development. I was also reading books, listening to empowering audios. You know what I mean? Reading books by Bob Proctor or Joe Vitale or Louise Hay. You know what I mean? Books from Robert Kiyosaki or what's his name? Napoleon Hill. All these great classics. So I started to realize that I needed to go after what I wanted. I wasn't getting any younger. And so I decided to do something that felt uncomfortable because I needed to be able to stretch outside my comfort zone to be able to net a reality that I wanted that I didn't have. I started to take responsibility that everything I have in my life is a reflection of my best thinking. And once I was able to accept that fact, I got over my ego. I emptied my cup. I got to an event, and I was a sponge. 30 days later, I generate $26,000 in a month. Fast forward 2 years later, I earned my first $1 million online. Then I'm having $100,000 months and creating all this residual income. But the bigger picture is I'm helping so many people break through and inspiring them through my story. So something I realized, it's your responsibility to create the best version of you so you can have that success stories to share it with people so that you can inspire others to be themselves, their best versions of themselves. It's like unconscious permission. When a star shines, it gives other stars permission to shine. And I believe we all are stars. And so that's why I have a podcast. That's why I do what I do. That's why I speak on stages around the world, teaching what it is that I know. But my higher purpose is really, helping people connect with who they truly are, embracing their weird selves. You know what I mean? Because once I started to embrace who I truly was, that's when everything transformed, instead of hiding who I was, which I feel a lot of people do because of the way that we're raised with, society and things of that nature. So it's my purpose to connect people to, source and tap into their true selves and, be the best versions of themselves. And I believe that's how we will change the world. I also love using my influence to teach people about the pineal gland, teach people about the law of attraction, teach people about the power of meditation, and just share some of the biggest things that have transformed my life, share that with other people. And that's what I do.
Awesome. Bravo for that condensation of your whole life in a short period of time. So thank you for that, because I know that it could have been a lot longer and a lot more detailed, because there are ebbs and flows and they all have value in terms of sharing that and teaching it, and being able to share with others sort of the ups and downs and how that relates to what people might be going through who are listening. So let's talk about the law of attraction, because that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, because I've been using law of attraction on the Fit to Love podcast show to talk about relationships, to talk about emotions and feelings, to talk about health, but I really haven't used it to leverage money yet, because just for whatever reason, the show's just been focused on health and wellness, but money and finances obviously can contribute to that freedom. And I was watching one of your videos where you said, why you need to be wealthy, and one of the reasons was so that you can afford better food, so you can eat cleaner foods
right.
and be healthier and do those kinds of things. So The Secret, was that your first introduction to the law of attraction?
It was. And I mean, a lot of personal development greats have been talking about it. I believe Jesus even talks about it, like in the Bible. It just wasn't called the law of attraction. You know what I mean? Napoleon Hill was talking about this stuff, 100 years ago. But The Secret is what did it for me, because it was around that time I was like that 500K in debt, and I was almost like hopeless. I didn't know what to do. And it helped create a shift inside of me that my dreams were still possible, even though I was at the lowest point in my life at that time. And so I started studying the law of attraction, but it wasn't like overnight riches for me. I'll just be honest. It looks that way from the outside looking in, but I struggled with this stuff for years before I started to have my big victories. And I think a part of it, there's parts of The Secret, like the real secret to law of attraction, and I talk about this, I talked about it on stage not too long ago, is the law of action. And people seem to, if you actually take the ATTR out, then it just says the law of action. It means you actually have to act in accordance to your thinking and your beliefs and your feelings. And another thing is how feelings are so connected to everything that we do. That's why it's really important to feel really good. That's why it's so important to listen to your podcast, JJ, to be in, optimal mental shape as well as like physical shape, because it's like all connected. Like everything
Absolutely.
is connected. I truly believe that. And we can create a harmonious balance. If we're like not, if we unconnect to one area, that can cause like tribulations in another area of our life. So law of attraction transformed my life. How do I use it to create wealth? I share, what I have used, that, the missing pieces that I have gathered through experience that I didn't necessarily learn through the movie The Secret, that has allowed me to, get to where I'm at. One of those things is finding the right mentor, someone that you resonate with, and I basically, a lot of my list, the people who are attracted to my ads, I target law of attraction. You can do that sort of stuff on Facebook. I target my favorite authors. If I read their book and I think it's a great book and I want to connect with fellow like-minded people who also dig their books, I'm going to put them in the interest, in my Facebook ad. I'm going to share my story of law of attraction. I'm going to give them tips. I'm not going to give them fluff. I'm going to give them real value. And because I do that really well, people share my content and it's no longer an ad. It's all about, because that's not the purpose. The purpose is to deliver such great content. I'm going to impact lives regardless if people decide to, buy something from me or not. I'm going to make an impact. And I just believe in that universal law of abundance, that it's going to come back at least 10 times fold, and it always does. So people, start sharing my stuff, and I start blowing up and getting exposure I would normally never get if I didn't lead with lots of value. And that's also something I teach. I've been teaching Facebook PPC for 2 years now, because that's how I build my business. Those are some of the things that I utilize, that if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have the advantage. Like, I use law of attraction to my advantage, but it's not just rightful thinking. I'm not just in a lotus all day meditating, even though I'm into meditation. I'm into, Kung Fu. I'm into yoga. I'm very flexible. I can do the splits and all that sort of stuff, but I'm not just sitting on my butt all day. And I think that's where a lot of people misconstrue things, and they just think it's just like they just got to think about it and not act. But no, it's going to make you uncomfortable. You have to tap into who you truly are, because then you'll follow the signs. And it's like the universe, or God, universal intelligence, is guiding you. But if your eyes aren't open to the omens, how are you going to get the signals that you need? And most people are just closed off from self-limiting beliefs. It's really all mental and unconscious. And when I started studying NLP, I became a certified practitioner in the field with my wife. I started realizing how it's the unconscious mind that's controlling, all the aspects of our life.
Oh, absolutely. And we talk about that on a Thoughtful Thursday. Maybe we'll have to have you back for a little bit of NLP on that, the difference between the power of the unconscious and subconscious mind versus the 12% of our conscious mind that we spend so much time focused on. And it's like not even, right? It's 12%. It's such a small amount of focus, of conscious, of what we actually can control. It's all that stuff underneath, and that basement, quote unquote, of the mind that really needs to be cleaned up. But I want to go back to talk about, because a lot of people, when they hear law of attraction, they go, oh, law of attraction. Like, oh, I saw The Secret. I did a vision board. And I address this on some of my shows. But I want to know a little bit more about your journey of what worked and what didn't work. So were you someone who, and I know it took a couple of years, you said it wasn't an overnight success, which I don't think it is for anyone. And there are pros and cons to The Secret. So I'll just throw out a few. So The Secret movie was, what I think is a really good thing, is it created an awareness about the law of attraction. But the downside is, just like you said, there, besides action, I think they missed the boat on talking about frequency and vibration and thoughts and feelings. And it's just, people just thought, oh, well, I'll put pictures up on a board and that'll mean I'll get it, or I will say, right, in my out loud positive words, even though I feel disbelief. I feel or really don't believe what I'm saying, but I'm going to give it lip service. And because I'm positively speaking, it must manifest. And so, because today's show is called Manifesting, what do you think were some of the lessons, just a few lessons that you learned that really transformed your ability to manifest?
Yes. The biggest ones I mentioned: law of action, finding the right mentor. Another major one is the right energy, which you just address, your frequency or your vibration. You know what I mean? Because after all, we are all energy, and everything in this universe is energy, and that's what everything boils down to. And there's two main energies. If you want to simplify things, there's positive and there's negative, and you're either in a negative frequency or a positive frequency. And I think it's really important to just be in a good vibrational state, because that's it's like this antenna. If you could imagine, your third eye is receiving signals from this universal intelligence, and this antenna is just beaming. You know what I mean? And we can tap into that. So I think just being in the right state of mind, feeling good, is really important. I think music is a great way to shift your energy. Of course, there's a lot of garbage out there, but if we can plug into positive vibrational energy that is very healing. Sound is very healing. I know people who actually do real healing through their instruments and stuff like that. So that's something, you can tap into. Meditation is a great way to shift your energy, just to let go of all the, everything you're holding on to. Just let everything go. You know what I mean? Also, to be in a state of gratitude is a great way to shift your energy, just by feeling, gratitude for someone else, or compassion for another living being, or maybe being, compassionate to the fact that, your parents like raised you and you're alive. Little things like this can totally shift your energy as well. Because here's something I learned in NLP. You can't think about, and this is also taught in law of attraction, you can't think about something without thinking about it. Think about it. If I told you not to think about a big blue tree, what's the first thing that pops into your mind?
Big blue tree.
Of course, because your unconscious mind doesn't understand the word not. It's just getting the information and thinking about it. So what do we focus on? Typically, most people, I can tell within like a 30-second conversation where your head is at. And most of the time, their heads are in the gutter and they're thinking about the past, which is in the past. And they're continuously living in the past. And they're not creating any room to have their breakthrough to create a new space for their future. So by letting go, just unplugging your mind really, and I think that's a big way to clear your energy to create positive vibes.
Okay, we've just covered a whole bunch of different ways for you to change your energy, and here's what I want to focus on after we come back from our sponsors. There's a huge difference. I know you said law of action, and I guess for me, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. It's just the verbiage and it's how it gets interpreted and how people hear that, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs who go poo-poo law of attraction, take action, take action, take action. And you and I know that there's a different energy behind that kind of action than what you might be talking about. And I want you to be able to explain to everyone. So regardless of what the goal is, whether it be a relationship or money and business or travel or health and wellness, overcoming something or attaining optimal health, the indicators, the strategy, the breakthrough for you, what made the little difference, that fine tuning of how you took action and how you knew it was the right action. But we will get to that. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Are you consciously using the law of attraction in your everyday life? How would you like some accountability and structure provided for you so you can easily start attracting more good into your life? Join us for the next 30-day manifestation challenge. Go to fit2love.tv/30daym. That's FIT, the number 2, LOVE.tv/30DAYM. 30-day M. Well, you'll be provided completely for free a 30-day packet including audios, instructions, and accountability in the form of a private Facebook group where we share our manifestations with each other every day, and we keep each other accountable for doing the work. Join us for the next 30-day manifestation challenge. Come on over to fit2love.tv/30daym. Okay, Justin, so I hopefully you understand, maybe you've been around enough entrepreneurs like I have that have taught. I've been in mastermind groups and had other mentors and tried to follow the money and modeled people whose lives honestly did not reflect anything I was interested in except one piece, which was the money. And what I realized, and everyone was all about taking action, taking action, taking action. And here I was back in 2011 after many years of studying law of attraction and feeling into my behavior and realizing that while I'm giving law of attraction lip service, I could quote you any answer from Abraham for just about any question. And I believe it 100%, but I wasn't living it because the energy behind my action taking was anxiety, was fear, was if I don't do this, I'm not going to get there, or was chasing after a result. So how, for those people that are listening that take action, because especially for entrepreneurs that are listening to this, they live, in my opinion, in the control addiction of always taking action to the point of cutting off their feelings or being in an energy that doesn't serve them to manifest what they want. So what was different for you? How would you recommend somebody who isn't immune to taking action take action differently using the law of attraction to get what they want?
And I agree with you. I believe if you have the wrong energy and you're taking action, you can do the same exact thing as the successful person, but because your negative energy is cutting you off from all your breakthroughs and all your success, you'll never have success. So I must just state and stress this first. Your mindset is really important. If you're not working on yourself on a daily basis, like listening to inspiring podcasts like this on a regular basis, if you're not reading on a regular basis, chances are you're probably not going to have the right mindset. So you have to be willing to work on that as well, because then you'll be taking what I call an inspired action. And you know when you're taking inspired action because you feel it. It just feels right. You know what I mean? I believe we're all intuitive. Some of us can feel more intuitive than others, but we can all become more intuitive. And a great way to do so is through meditation. You know what I mean? If I'm ever like stuck and I'm not sure what to do, I just go do some yoga or qigong or some form of meditation. I clear my mind, and then the universe tells me what to do. And I know to some it sounds like, the universe doesn't talk to you. I know that. I don't hear a voice. I feel, you know what I mean? I just feel like what's right because I'm just built on, I'm very built that way. And some of us are. But that's something we can all tap into. So I say when it feels right, chances are it probably is. If it don't feel right and you're like stressing over, actually doing it, I would stop immediately because something's out of alignment. Maybe get with your mentor and have them correct that.
Excellent. So in 2011, to finish that story, I stopped everything. I took a big hiatus. I unsubscribed from people I'd been following for years. I stopped sending out newsletter. I literally took a huge hiatus from my business because I could feel what was underneath all of my action. I'm a great action taker. I can produce like a crazy person because I've just built that way, but it wasn't coming from the right energy. And so what I did was I went out, and once we sort of moved the offices in the house and I painted some really inspiring, calming colors like sage, I got a blackboard, which is still up. I'm looking at it right now. And in the top, there are 2 slots for pictures. And what I did is I took one picture off the internet of the sun beaming through a bright blue sky with clouds, and I wrote in there with a graphic, "Get in the vortex."
Nice.
And in the next picture, I did a sunset, sun beaming through yellow sky, and it says, "Follow the impulse." So for me, what that means, how you just explained that, and that's exactly what I wanted to live in my life, was that spiritual practice of get in the vortex, which for those of you that don't do law of attraction, it means what Justin was talking about. Clear your mind, get happy, get in a space, get grounded, get aligned, whatever that means to you. And for me, actually, doing cardiovascular work and dancing always does it. If I've got like my feet on the ground in the sand and I'm listening to something, for some reason, all the different parts of my body are occupied,
Right.
and it creates this clear channel that I get the best answers and ideas when I'm running on the beach.
Nice.
And it's nowhere near meditating, right? Like it's not quiet, it's not still, it's the exact opposite, but that's when I get my downloads.
Nice.
And so for me, that action taking was, I recognized that action is important, but only, like you said, if it's inspired action. So get yourself into a state where you feel that impulse, you get that hit, you get that wave, and then the law of action, in terms of actually following through with it and not just feeling it and then letting it dissipate, is where, would you say, success is created?
Yes. And you want to know how you know that that's like a fact and how it's working? It's inspired action, and you know it for a fact if what you're doing doesn't feel like work. It becomes a passion. It becomes bigger than that. You know what I mean?
Okay, so then I have a personal question. I have because right now I have a passion of delivering some products that I have created years ago that we're still using today, but in a different way. And what about when you get into that? And I'm very excited. I can't wait to do it for all the products and help other people to do it too, especially in the space of healers and entrepreneurs like myself. But what happens when we get a little crunchy because we're learning new things? What would you say to that? Because that doesn't.
Yeah, you're doing all that because of your higher purpose. And obviously, we're going to go through those phases of setting up new funnels, but it's all worthwhile. Then you're still excited about it because you see the bigger picture. You understand the impact it's going to create, the higher purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just want to make that clear distinction because I think the misleading information or ideas about law of attraction is that it's going to feel great and effortless every step of the way, and that's not necessarily the case, because you're taking action and you're expanding your comfort zone and you're doing something new. There is a learning curve.
Exactly. And the way I feel is like always in flow, but I've been working my tail off, the past several years to be where I'm at, in my life right now as well. So everything I do, I love, and I'm passionate about it. And even if I'm learning something new, because I just try to focus on the reason why I'm doing it in the first place. So for example, like you've recorded tons of podcasts, JJ, and if you look at it, one element, it is work because it's time you're dedicating into building your business. but then you don't you consider it fun and a pleasure, and the reason why you love it and you're so passionate about it because you understand the bigger picture. It's serving so many people, so you're willing to just forget all the hard work you're putting into it, understanding the bigger picture that you're implementing, and you're focused on that. And because you're focused on it, it may seem effortless at times, but you're still putting in the work, but it's all just a matter of perspective. It's really important how we perceive things. We need to start perceiving things that are going to serve in our advantage and make things easier. Like some beliefs, how do I come to the conclusion of like, I choose to believe that way? Because it serves me, helping me get, closer to my goals and, hit my, destination of where I want to go in life.
No, that's perfect. And you're right. I love doing this, and there are days where I get ready to edit and I drag myself like, oh, I don't want to edit. But the minute I put the headphones on and start editing and listening to the content, I'm like, I love it. So it's just a reminder of, yes, I kind of reverse engineered my own life, being told to focus and niche down to a place where that to me didn't feel free. It felt very constraining. And so to do the opposite and say, what makes me happy? What do I want to do? What kind of content lights me up? And then let's build a business around that. And that's what I'm currently doing. So thank you for that. Thank you from me personally. So now let's talk about, for anyone who's listening, who's like, well, darn, I want to do what you do. And maybe I don't have a business, but maybe I want one, and maybe you can teach me, and maybe you're my right mentor. So how do I start that process, Justin?
Right on. The best website would be hippiejedi.com. It's HIPPIEJEDI.com. Enter your email on that page. It'll take you through a free video training series I did where I teach how I made my first $1 million on the internet using this formula I refer to as my freedom formula. And that's my free gift to all your listeners. Also, feel free to check out the podcast. We're 142 episodes strong right now. We've had JJ on as a guest, which is an amazing interview. I highly recommend everyone tune into. And to tap into the podcast, just go to WeirdEntrepreneurs.com.
And we will have both of those links ready for you on fittolove.tv in case you are exercising or driving and you can't write that all down, or if you don't remember it, but we'll have it too. So if you want to come on over, we can click you straight through to hippiejedi.com and Weird Entrepreneurs Podcast, which I would absolutely recommend that you listen to, especially if this has intrigued you and you, like us, want freedom in your life as well as a great amount of wealth and success so that you can serve your highest purpose. Justin, thank you so much for being here.
The honor is all mine. Thank you, JJ. I appreciate you dearly.
Thank you again for tuning in to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. If you're inspired and want more, come on over to fittolove.tv and check out our Freedom Fridays, or find us on iTunes. More at Fit to Love, physical, emotional, and spiritual fitness for the happy life you deserve.